So hello and welcome to the Pole Position Podcast. I am Jack Price alongside Jamie Davies, and we are going to be talking about the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
Well done, Baku.
Well done, Baku. Yes, we're going to talk about it. And Jamie, you said before we started this that you actually didn't mind the race, but I was thinking, well, it wasn't the best Baku race we've seen for a few years. But explain to me, and obviously the listeners at home, why you thought it was a decent race.
I thought it was better than China, but it didn't take much to beat China. It was typical, wasn't it? The 1000th race being probably the most boring race in the world.
Yeah.
Valencia 2011's up there, but this one.
You really hate that race.
Oh my God, I was hungover that day as well from a prom thing, and I thought I may as well go to sleep. It's that boring, and then Vettel dominated the race. But I quite like this one in which, not much happened on the circuit. Like at the start of the race, you had Hamilton about to take over from Bottas on the first corner, and then Bottas squeezed through that gap, and that is a proper race, isn't it? As Ayrton Senna would say, if you stop when you don't see a gap, that's not real racing or something like that. You know, you're going against
a true racing driver.
Exactly. And Bottas saw it and just thought, I'm going to keep going. He was literally like a tic-tac away from the wall and the barrier. And if he had hit that would have been a race over moment for him. So the fact that he did that and stayed ahead of Hamilton just shows what he has to do to beat Lewis this year. It's a long championship ahead. But then later on, of course, Leclerc led for a long time, which will be a good experience for him. But then everyone else had pit stopped after 14, 15 laps, and he's thinking, I should probably change my tyres now. It's been 31 laps. So I was gutted he couldn't carry on, but the pace was obviously getting slower. Sergio Perez for Racing Point, I thought did all right. McLaren did well. You know, I think in terms of the championship, it's made things interesting. Ferrari are fuck-ups again. So excuse my language. It's just a good alliteration. But I just honestly think after that race, I'm starting to think it's between Bottas and Hamilton. So I think we might have a repeat of 2016 where it's two silver arrows going for the championship.
Well, we've got 2 wins for Bottas, 2 wins for Hamilton. And like you said, I think the first 2 corners of the first lap sort of made the race in terms of we sort of knew for the first couple of races, but we knew that Bottas is not a changed man, but he's got a different desire this year, and you could see that when he was fighting with Lewis for the first couple of corners. And I think also if you look at last season's race, where Ocon and Raikkonen clashed on the second corner, and because I think Kimi hit the side curb, you saw that Lewis actually touched the side curb as well, but both of them managed to keep it right and not hit each other. And I think that sort of shows as well that both drivers respect each other, but both of them aren't giving each other as much as like Bottas did last year. I mean, you said as well that if Bottas had this time last year, even he might have gone, no, it's okay. I'll let it go, Lewis. But this year he looks different, and obviously, like I said, 2 wins each. I mean, this is looking good. I mean, we're not having the Ferrari-Mercedes battle that we were looking forward to, but, Bottas has stood up this year.
I just don't understand what's going on with Ferrari, but with Bottas, I think he's looking at it and thinking, if I don't take the opportunities when they're there, then that's a championship lost. It could be decided in the early races, because the moment Lewis Hamilton's on fire, he's on fire. Like, he's the best driver on the circuit by a country mile, and I think with Bottas, he knows that he's up against probably the best driver in F1. I'm not saying he is, but in this era, he is just one of the best. And so it's interesting. I mean, we got to hope that Bottas does keep fighting till the very end. Otherwise, this will be a very boring season with Lewis Hamilton dominating. But a lot of people have been, even Joe the Palmer said on 5 Live, this is still Lewis Hamilton's championship. Yeah. Maybe it is, but I would love to see Bottas win it. I think, the character he has, he's a bit, some people might say he's quite boring, but he's just such an innocent man, isn't he? I just love him, and I love his beard as well.
His beard's great.
He's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually having Bottas this year fighting for it is something that I think fans have been looking forward to. But in terms of Ferrari, I mean, Charles Leclerc had that accident in qualifying on the Saturday.
Yeah, when it didn't need to happen either,
exactly, did it? But when you look at it, Vettel, was it the lap before or on that lap, because he was a little bit in front of him, he also just missed that corner as well. So, we could have been talking about Vettel crashing out in qualifying, but, for Leclerc, I mean, that could have hampered again his race on Sunday as well. We saw that a couple of weeks ago. But Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else to add on Ferrari this season, Jamie, apart from what you said earlier that I'm going to need to edit out?
Sorry.
No, just...
I just don't understand why Ferrari. I mean, we should probably stop saying it now before each race and go, Ferrari have the best car, because I think all that speculation is putting pressure on Ferrari, but Mercedes just, I mean, Toto Wolff must be watching from his screen thinking, this is brilliant. Like we weren't expecting anything this weekend.
He just like folds his arms behind himself,
he does that,
leans
doesn't
back,
he?
and just like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this is fine. But like, I just don't know what is going on, because I thought they would have learned from last year and the year before, but it's just continuing again. And a lot of people keep saying, oh, Riva Bene's gone, so there's someone else in it. But I'm thinking, it's a team sport at the end of the day. There's someone somewhere who's not getting the strategy right. People can start blaming Vettel, which he has not helped himself with.
No.
And maybe that moment with Leclerc on Saturday with qualifying, but it's just not happening whatsoever. The car's clearly better than Mercedes, but when Leclerc crashed in qualifying on Saturday, I just thought, can they have a good weekend?
Please.
It's been 4 races in. They haven't won a race yet. I still think there's time, but they've got Spain is the next race, and if they don't do it there, then they've got, I think it's Mercedes all the way. You know, Vettel's actually only 30 points behind Bottas and Hamilton in the championship, and you know, that may sound like a big gap, but not really, because if Mercedes have a DNF for one of their drivers, Vettel just needs a top 3 finish and he's back with them. So there's still a good chance Ferrari can contend, but at this moment in time, Ferrari are just seen as a laughable team in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you know, Vettel's obviously getting a lot of hate from true sort of Ferrari fans. Everyone seems to have a go at Vettel because he's not performing as maybe Hamilton is doing for Mercedes. But in terms of Charles Leclerc, you know, Ferrari brought him in last season, and they knew that he had a great, you know, first season in F1 last year with Sauber, but they knew that he wasn't going to be like Kimi Räikkönen, a safe option. You know, he's going to be young. He's going to fight for everything. So, you know, these little mistakes he's making, he is going to make because he's still only young.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, Ferrari fans and maybe the team bosses, they can't moan about it. They made the decision to bring him in, and I think for everyone in general, it was a fantastic decision to bring in Leclerc. We all know how good he is. So, but I just think that they need to give him time. I mean, he's going to make mistakes. You know, he was on the radio and he was so annoyed with himself after he made that incident on Saturday. But
look at the difference though between Vettel and Leclerc. Vettel's a 4-time world champion and has enough experience, of course, to be racing, but you know, he's still making mistakes to this day. And they're always going to make mistakes. And I agree with what you're saying. You know, Leclerc's still in a period of his career where mistakes are going to be made. I'm not seeing many mistakes at all, really. I mean, Bahrain was not his fault. The qualifying on Saturday was his fault. But that corner is tricky. If you make one little slip up, you're gone. And it must be nerve-wracking as a driver, though, going up to that corner thinking... Even Bottas, when he's leading, he's probably thinking, if I slip up here, I've lost the race. Yeah.
Well, Kubica had it. Was it in qualifying as well?
He did, yeah. No, I mean, he helped the Williams go out, really. He put it to sleep. Because that car's just shambolic. Yeah, that car's slower than a turtle. And I know because I put a Williams and a turtle together and imagined the turtle would win.
And the floor disintegrated on the Williams as well, like it did in practice. I mean, that wasn't their fault, but that whole shambles on Friday in terms of the manhole covers, and then the driver of the recovery vehicle deciding just to hit the bridge, and then the oil spilling all over the Williams. I mean, Claire Williams must be looking at it going, I know we're bad, but this is just insulting that you're throwing oil on our car as well.
Well done, Baku.
But I think, was it a couple of years ago when Grosjean for Haas hit a manhole cover at Malaysia, that the track actually played for the thing.
Curb.
So
yeah.
Baku are obviously going to pay for Williams stuff because they need the money desperately, so they can't afford to put a new chassis together. But yeah, that was in terms of that. I mean, if we look at a few other things, like you said earlier, McLaren. With a double points. So Carlos Sainz actually finished a race.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's amazing. And he finished higher than Lando Norris as well.
Yes, yeah.
But McLaren are, they're fourth, aren't they, in the Constructors' Championship now? And I think with Alfa Romeo, it depends, doesn't it? 'Cause as I've always said, it's a long season. Can Alfa Romeo do it every race, getting in the top 10? Raikkonen didn't have a great qualifying. And obviously, I think he finished 10th at the end, Raikkonen. But, that's only a point. And Giovinazzi, I don't think, got top 10 either. So it's I think Alfa Romeo sadly have a team where they've got one driver that they might have to rely on for the points, while Giovinazzi's still learning. But then you look at McLaren, where Lando Norris is very strong. There's no pressure on him, and he's driving really well. And then you got Carlos Sainz, who when he doesn't have a crash or an engine problem, he actually finishes well. He's not bad. He's always been good in the top 10 finishes, but I think for McLaren as well, I think fourth is a very, very likely option now for them. And, that's a great rebuild because they're nowhere near Red Bull, are they? Red Bull, they're just consistent at being outside the podium. But I think with McLaren as well, they seem to have Fernando Alonso there now and again as well. And it'd be interesting because I do wonder if McLaren might get a podium this season. There's probably a big ask, but you just never know. If something went wrong one weekend for Mercedes and Ferrari, well, Ferrari have bad weekends anyway.
Yeah, let's just count that they're going to have a bad weekend.
Exactly, exactly. I just have this feeling they might actually get a podium. I don't know which driver, but
we'll take any.
Last time they had a podium was Australia 2014, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, please, if Jamie's. Your prediction is right. That would be spectacular for all these McLaren fans.
I don't have any reason.
No, I know, but these McLaren fans like us have been waiting so long.
Have you bought the McLaren orange cap yet?
I haven't. Have you?
I don't know. I feel like I should get it for when Indy 500 comes along. But
yeah, that's next month, isn't it?
It is
next month.
It
so cheering Fernando Alonso on for that one. Max Verstappen, you just talked about Red Bull, finishing fourth. A little bit disappointed after the race because I don't want to say he was in no man's land a little bit, but Red Bull obviously don't have the power. Honda brought in a new upgrade for this weekend, a little bit more reliable. And a little bit more pace, but obviously it's coming up to Spain in a couple of weeks' time. That's a track that will suit them more because it's less power. I mean, that's straight.
That straight is crazy.
They lose time.
You can hear the engine rattling.
Yeah.
It's really one hell of a straight.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, you can just see. I mean, Leclerc overtook Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen is good at defending. And you just saw it, and Max was just like, "There's no point." He just literally waved. He could have waved past him because
actually, quick mention: McLaren did challenge one of the Red Bulls in that race as well. I think it was Gasly, and Sainz was thinking, "Oh my god!" He didn't overtake. It was like
just the fact that he's challenging for.
It's crazy.
But yeah, obviously Max Verstappen, okay race. Didn't really not a lot happened to him, but he got 12 points for fourth place in the end of it.
Yeah,
so points matter, don't they?
I mean, he got fourth in China as well, didn't he? So he's consistent again. He's had 2 podiums, 2 fourth places. Max Verstappen, he'll no doubt outscore. He'll outscore Pierre Gasly after what I said before the season, when I somehow said that Gasly will finish 5th in the drivers'
above Max Verstappen.
I regret that already.
Max Verstappen, 4th place, like you said, consistent, this season. But we look at Pierre Gasly. I said earlier that Honda brought an upgrade, and it was supposed to help with reliability. Now we don't know if it was down to the engine unit, but Pierre Gasly retired. But to be fair, before he retired, he wasn't actually doing too bad.
He was 6th, wasn't he? I think. Yeah, he was going on to probably get his best race of the season. But yeah, then the engine started to pack up, and it's just been a tough start, hasn't it, for Pierre Gasly? But I think the way Christian Horner and all that will look, and just think it's just a learning curve for him. But at the end of the day, as long as Max Verstappen is doing his bit, I don't think the team's expected to do much more. Because I do wonder, will Red Bull win a race this season? I don't know. We'll see. I probably cut to conclusions, really, thinking that Red Bull won't. But I just keep thinking with the consistency Mercedes are on, with how strong Ferrari are as a car, even though they're not getting the race wins. I just think Red Bull getting podiums is the least they can do. But whether they get race wins is another story. But it's just not happening at the moment. And I think with Gasly, it's going to get to that point where midway through the season, Red Bull might have to assess him and just think, right, what can we expect for the rest of the season? Because I would give him half the season to get used to it.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's down to him, and then I think that's when the pressure's on.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, with Red Bull, is it down to, like you said, with McLaren possibly getting a podium, but for Red Bull, if the 2 Mercedes drivers or any of the Mercedes drivers have a DNF, is that their only chance this season?
Well, that's what I mean.
Win, yeah?
This is it. This is when I think they may have to just take the chance when that happens, because it happened in Austria, didn't it, when Bottas and Hamilton went out? That was the only double retirement we ever remember, to be honest, from Mercedes. And as I say, Hamilton is the one driver who's probably had one DNF in 3 years. So that's an amazing stat in itself. And I think that's what might have to happen. They may have to fight against Ferrari as well. But, hey, Ferrari could easily... Well, Leclerc led a race once and then it didn't happen, did it? So it could happen to them at any moment in any race.
And Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll for Racing Point.
Well, I mean, Perez was better, obviously.
Well, I know, yeah,
just state that, Perez.
Well, Perez
finished...
dear,
Dad. The owner's son couldn't even finish higher than Perez at their favourite circuit on the calendar. Oh, that makes me laugh.
What a shame. Yeah, Sergio Perez finished in 6th place, Lance Stroll in 9th. But just for them to get double points as well is good.
It's good because they're 5th now in the championship. You see, I keep thinking that they'll get top 5, but then you look at Haas, don't you? It's Haas who I think are the threats. Renault should be, but it's just not happening for them at the moment. Sacre bleu, all that French stuff. But I think for Racing Point, it's a good result. They did talk before the race on Sky that it was a good chance to get a podium for Perez because he started in 5th. But to be honest, the moment it got into 10 laps into the race, you could see. I think it was Gasly fighting against Perez. You just think the pace isn't there. It's not going to win. It's not going to get in the podium. So I think Perez will take 6th. Stroll will take 9th because he started in 13th. Good weekend all round for Racing Point. And again, it's another team. It's that team that's always been known for getting more out of what they have, and they're showing it again.
Yeah, well, I mean, credit again to Force India, but like you said, for Sergio Perez fans, better that he finishes higher than Lance Stroll. Yeah. So just quickly go through the top 10. Valtteri Bottas, obviously, finishing in 1st place. Lewis Hamilton 2nd. Sebastian Vettel in 3rd. Max Verstappen 4th. Charles Leclerc in his Ferrari in 5th place. Sergio Perez, woohoo, Jamie, in 6th. Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris from McLaren in 7th and 8th. Lance Stroll in 9th. And Kimi Raikkonen finishing off in 10th place. Now, we have to talk about Renault. Now, they haven't had the best start to the season. We know that. However, I think one of their calamity moments of the season is what we saw in Baku yesterday, where Daniel Ricciardo just decided to reverse into Kvyat.
I don't understand what the hell was going on. I mean, it was clearly Marcus Ericsson's fault.
Yes.
Because he saw on the ring mirrors pictures of Marcus Ericsson, he thought, I've got to reverse into him, get rid of him.
Well, the guys were waving with them. Ericsson did it hats, and he was like,
I love those caps. I'd
buy one.
I'd buy one, yeah. I don't care if it's 40 quid, I'm buying it. But yeah, I don't know what happened because they both did. In all fairness, they both until that moment controlled the situation really well. Kvyat noticed that Ricciardo was trying to go in for an overtake, so Kvyat could not turn until he made his turn. But then Ricciardo's brakes just weren't working in time.
Well, that was all weekend really. Renault really struggled with brakes. They were always going off the circuit,
which is not good, is it? Really, that's scary for a racer, not knowing
locking up every time.
And Ricciardo, as of course, went off, but then Kvyat had to let him go through, but then he couldn't turn either. So Kvyat, I felt sorry for Kvyat because he was too close to the wall, so he couldn't really turn out. And then in that same time, Ricciardo just somehow did not think that there was a car behind him and just reversed into him, which was just hilarious. But I think Kvyat didn't take it that badly because I think you can look back at Helmut Marko and go, see, for once, I told you, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. And I know us Russians get blamed for everything, but this time it was not my fault.
Well, I mean, Ricciardo obviously said after the race that he was so annoyed with himself that he'd messed that corner up and he was frantically trying to get the car back into reverse. And he thought during that time, Kvyat would have been able to get it in quicker and to go away, but he said stupidly he didn't check his mirrors, so he just reversed and obviously hit Kvyat, and I think he was annoyed because both of them retired because of it. But
just shows they're humans.
Yeah, exactly. And Ricciardo went over to Kvyat in the interview pen afterwards, and Kvyat said, "Well, we've both been teammates. We both know that each other. You wouldn't do it personally, just out of spite. So I think fair enough that both of them have accepted it. But in terms of Renault itself, really struggling this season.
I don't know what's happened. Like you
can't blame the drivers this year, really. Apart from that Ricciardo incident, they've got two world class drivers.
Has Daniel Ricciardo actually finished a race yet? Because he didn't finish in the first two, did he? But I don't know if he finished in
China.
China. Maybe, but even so, it's a poor start to the season.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll look that up.
Nico Hulkenberg as well, not having. Well, he was way outside the top 10 this weekend. I think really at the same time, Christian Horner is loving it. Like he's just laughing in the Red Bull garage, thinking, "Oh, you may have taken our Daniel Ricciardo, but we've got Max Verstappen still." So it's like you look at Renault and think, "Well, it can't get any worse, surely." I mean,
No.
the pace isn't even there either. I'm not seeing Renault fight at all when they get into that top 10. So at this moment in time, would Renault have to think about maybe trying to finish 6th or 7th, which is a big problem if they
Money-wise as well.
Money-wise,
Yeah.
like there's big pressure on the team there.
He finished 7th in China. But
Seventh.
he was a lap down.
He was a lap down, wow. But even so, the Renault being a lap down as well makes you wonder what's going on, because I think Haas, well, look at McLaren at the moment, they are clearly up there to
With
go
a
for
Renault
the 4th
engine.
place. With a Renault, I know, yeah.
I mean...
That's so funny. It does make me funny how that happens, but you've got Haas, who I think are a team not to mess with. Racing Point have always got surprise packages. They just surprise us all the time. and then you've got maybe Alfa Romeo up there as well, as long as Kimi Raikkonen turns up. So if Renault could have a bad season ahead, and then Ricciardo shouldn't jump to conclusions and think that was a bad decision. Let's not forget Hamilton. Okay, he won a race for Mercedes in his first season in Hungary, and then they didn't win any other races that season. But the difference was Mercedes had qualifying pace, but no race pace.
Yeah.
The problem is with Renault, they've got no qualifying
pace.
pace or no race pace. So it's like, it's not looking good at the moment. And for Ricciardo, okay, financially he's doing all right, but in terms of becoming a world champion, it ain't happening this year, is it?
No, and again for Nico Hulkenberg, the man that hasn't actually got a podium yet. I mean, it's tough times as well for Hulkenberg.
I worry he's one of those drivers that will be known as being a great driver, but just not recognised for it.
Yeah, and let's hope not, because I think we all love Nico Hulkenberg. But we look at the fastest pit stop award, and to be fair, Ferrari wins something. Charles Leclerc
Was it
2.27 seconds?
Jesus. Renault actually were bad at their pit stops as well. 3.2 seconds at one point for Ricciardo.
Anything going well for Renault?
I don't even know. Apart from they're selling cars still in the high street, maybe, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the driver standings, obviously, surprisingly, no Renault involved. But Valtteri Bottas on 87 points, Lewis Hamilton on 86. Oof. So, we're not having, like we said, the Ferrari-Mercedes battle, but we're actually having the two Mercedes drivers fighting each other out, like Rosberg and Hamilton did, in 2016. So
imagine if the championship did end with 1 point between them, and that could be down to because of a fastest lap moment in the season. Which I love, this fastest lap, because Leclerc got it on Sunday, and he was 30 seconds ahead of Perez. So he obviously thought, right, 2 laps to go, give me some fresh tyres.
Yeah.
And he did it, he got fastest lap. So I do love that idea. It's going to be such a game changer. Yeah. I think it could be a championship changer as well.
Exactly. I mean, we both hate the last race in Abu Dhabi, but if it's down to the wire on that race, it might actually make the race interesting.
Can you imagine if, like, the championship as it stands, they're both level, and it's down to one of them doing a fastest lap?
They both come in the pits with like 2 laps to go, and they're like, right, I need to get this fastest lap.
Do you remember that double pit stop they did in China?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me shows why they're the best team, because they just get everything spot on when it's needed.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like you said earlier, in third place in the driver's stand is Sebastian Vettel, and he's on 52 points. And like you said, on 52 points without winning a race this season.
That's not bad.
With Hamilton on 86 and Bottas on 87, it's nowhere near out of the race just yet.
No. It's a long calendar.
Yeah, exactly. But Vettel has only a point ahead of Max Verstappen in his Red Bull. So again, Max Verstappen and Red Bull, not doing as well as they have in previous seasons, but only 1 point behind the Ferrari. Charles Leclerc with 47 points. Again, not too bad for his first rookie season in Ferrari. Sergio Perez.
No, I was going to say, I did not know that.
Sergio Perez is next, but he is on the same points as two other drivers. So you've got Perez, Gasly's on 13, and Kimi Raikkonen is also on 13.
Keep fighting, Perez.
So for Jamie, Perez needs to keep performing. Lando Norris as well, just below Kimi Raikkonen on 12 points, and Kevin Magnussen in 8th. Haas had a bit of a quiet weekend as well. Not too much to say about that. And again, questions being asked about Romain Grosjean.
It was Ericsson's fault in his words. But
but again, what do we say about Romain Grosjean? I mean, Haas re-signed him, and he had a really difficult time at the start of last season. Sort of got better in the second half, but can Haas keep affording to have that issue?
Can I be honest? Get rid of him at the end of the season or in the summer. I think Grosjean's past it. I like him.
Yes.
I like him as a guy, but I just think you're not good enough. No. You make too many mistakes, and F1's just sadly that one sport or industry where if you make a mistake, you shouldn't really, you could be out of a job. And I think for Grosjean, I think he should be very happy with how long he's been in F1 for, because he came back in 2012 and has been on the lineup ever since, whether it's with Lotus or with Haas. But at the same time, in that season, Grosjean got a one race ban because of the collision in Belgium. He kept crashing
that was a hell of a collision as well.
Oh, it was. But then, in 2013, he revived himself and he kept getting podiums for Lotus, and was actually probably Vettel's main rival, even though the championship wouldn't tell you that. But actually, he kept challenging him for some of those last race wins in Japan, in America, etc. And then, now I just look at Grosjean and think, you have good moments, but you have too many bad moments. So the balance isn't there, and it's actually on one side. So I just think with Grosjean, he either changes it all now, or I think say goodbye. There's someone else coming in for it. I don't know who, but
Well, I can't remember the driver he did, but in the race, he overshot the corner, didn't he? And he lost 4 or 5 places just because he went wide on the runoff.
Yeah.
And you just think, Gunter Steiner, we've already seen on that documentary, was happy to swear about Romain Grosjean on the pit wall. I mean, I can't imagine what he said.
Even teams are taking the mick out of him, aren't they? Betting who will go out.
I bet Grosjean will take everyone out.
Yeah.
I mean, that does say a lot, doesn't it?
I mean, I know it seems like a daft call, but Mick Schumacher's doing his things in F2 and all that. He's a Ferrari contract driver, and Haas is a Ferrari team, so what if he took over his seat for next year, maybe? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, good shout. I was going to suggest maybe if Nico Hülkenberg has enough, he could go to Haas with maybe Jack Aitken from Formula 2, because he's a Renault driver coming up to Renault, but not sure Hülkenberg and Magnussen would get along as teammates.
Speaking of...
We know how much they hate each other.
Speaking of F2... have you heard that the new F1 video game's going to have Formula 2 in it?
Is it?
Yeah. It's called the Anniversary Edition because it'll be 10 years since Codemasters have been doing the F1 video games. Because there was that F109 that they did on the Wii that nobody played.
I played it. It was not very good.
It was not. No, I never played it.
F1 2010 was still the best game.
Oh, it came with a steering wheel, didn't it? The F109.
Yeah.
I remember. But I just thought to tell you.
Oh no! Actually, that's really good because I've been watching a bit of F2 this year and actually really enjoying it. I mean, that race in Baku, a lot of stuff was.
I didn't see it.
A lot of stuff was going down. But just quickly looking at the constructors' standings after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Williams surprisingly have no points.
Oh no!
So in terms of Eurovision, it's.
I thought they'd have minus points. To be honest,
yeah,
it might get to that.
It might get to that. Toro Rosso have 4 points. To be fair, I didn't think they were that far down on the sheet. I mean, they did really well actually. Azerbaijan.
Well, Alexander Albon's doing really well, for his first season. Thing is, you wouldn't think he's from Thailand, though, would you?
No.
He's so English.
Yeah. Was he born in England?
I think he was born in England. Yeah.
Haas have 8 points, not where they want to be. Renault also aren't in a position, like you said, where they want to be in 12 points. Alfa Romeo next up with 13. Racing Point. With 17 points, McLaren ahead of them by 1 in 18, and then this is where we have a gulf in class, really, let's be honest. McLaren in 4th position on 18 points, Red Bull in 3rd with 64 points. So we still have a bit of a gap from the top 3 to the mid-teams. Ferrari on 99 points, and Mercedes clearly ahead on 173. So
cool.
Looking at the Spanish Grand Prix next, we will discuss that obviously in the next episode, but just looking at the Spanish Grand Prix, Red Bull normally better at this track because it's not a power circuit. What do we expect for this?
Well,
next race
who
in
won the
Spain?
race last year? I can't remember.
I was trying to not get that question because I can't remember, Jamie.
Yeah,
It must be. It must be. Was it a Mercedes driver? You're going to make me look at it up again.
I remember I remember the race took place because I was next door. I was in Portugal at the time when the race took place, so I can't remember who won. I mean, okay, for Red Bull, they should do a lot better. I think a podium, again, is something that Red Bull will look at. Mm-hmm. Whether or not Gasly will join the programme at some point, I don't know. He just seems to not... he's still learning how to drive that car, from what I'm seeing. With Verstappen, I think he'll be aiming for a podium at least. I think for Mercedes, I'm just going to put them as the favourites now because I think we're starting to see arguably the best team in F1 that we've ever seen. You know, they've picked up 4-1-2s already this season out of all the races we've had, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again. They're just so consistent. There's just no problem with the car, is it? Yeah. It is a god car, but it's all about managing it, and they've absolutely nailed it. And Toto Wolff, for me, I think he is God. He is God Wolf. He is the God of all wolves. And I just think with Toto Wolff, I think this season I'm starting to learn that he manages that team spot on. There's just something about him, and he even went up to Charles Leclerc, didn't he, after Saturday, feeling sorry for him, etc. You know, he's a proper... I think he's quite a father figure as well, really, for some of these younger drivers.
He's been a racing driver as well, hasn't he? So
exactly.
He knows if you have a bad weekend or a bad moment, he knows that how you feel.
And I think that's what you should always have as a team principal. You should have someone that's been there themselves, so they know what to do with certain situations.
Yeah.
So I think with Mercedes, they're going to win the constructors. Drivers' Championship. I'm not going to say. I don't want to say anything because I want to see Ferrari actually fight for something. But Constructors' Championship, it's Mercedes.
It's over again.
It's already over. Yeah.
I have found out the results of last season's. This was the one where was it Jonathan Neal from McLaren said Grosjean's going to cause an incident here, and Grosjean actually spun in the middle of the racetrack, didn't he? And he took a few cars out. Hulkenberg, I think, and Gasly were taken out during that moment. But Lewis Hamilton went on to win the race. With Valtteri Bottas behind him and Max Verstappen finishing on the podium in third. So you said Mercedes to win the race?
I'm going to go with that same podium. I think it could be exactly the same this time.
Exactly same order?
Yeah. Unless Leclerc surprises us and wins the race, which would be a nice thing to see. But, Ferrari have got to start winning a race soon, otherwise they really are out of both championships.
Yeah.
Because I think one's already gone. They've got to focus on the other.
Yeah, and I can see that the Italian media not going to be very happy if they don't even get a podium in the Spanish Grand Prix.
God,
but, it's a bit funny to watch. But thank you very much, Jamie, for this episode of the Pole Position podcast. And we will see you all in the next episode. Thank you very much for listening.